Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday edition, now the only edition of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am your host, or at least one of them, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, as you can tell, we're a few minutes early. We have some big news to talk about regarding the 20th anniversary celebration confirmed by Xbox Wire. Of course, we're going to be talking about the shenanigans that went on this morning with Target.com and these refrigerators. Folks, a lot of people are disappointed. I happen to be one of them. It's pretty bad that when you have a retired dude that is in front of his computer and has a Target card and a Target account, and you can't get in there quick enough to get one of these things. It's also, and of course, thanks to our good friend Kay Asante, who was a part of Primetime Gaming, he posted something where someone on Twitter posted they've got 160 units. How does that happen? I understand it's business, but it's also very disappointing when that kind of stuff goes on. Obviously, it's supposed to be one per customer, and that obviously was a big fail on Target. I've been very vocal on Twitter about why Microsoft partnered with them. I think that was a mistake. And obviously, it has come to full circle because no one can get them. I know Aaron Greenberg had something to say about it. We're going to read his quote. But before we get into it, let's get into the introductions first. Zemi Games, welcome back, brother. How the heck are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I just recently, I say fantastic. I'm also a little bit sad because I just beat Far Cry a few days ago, and it's sad.
Don't you feel like there's a hole in your life that you don't have Far Cry?
I don't know what I'm going to move on to next, right? I don't have a direction really. You know, I'm kind of lost. I might go to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I still need to play that, but I still feel lost. Boom, I really do.
I'm quite enjoying it. I was literally playing it moments ago. I'm doing some of the side mission, the special ops missions. Where I have the first one I'm doing is find the chemical, but it's in like a dinosaur park. I don't know if you did that one. It's really good. I tell you, I have so many games to play. I just can't stop playing Far Cry 6. Again, in my opinion, it is a Far Cry masterpiece. Now that mileage may vary depending on who you talk to. A lot of people don't like the Far Cry formula. I do. And I'm with you. I'm hoping I don't beat it.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think you're really going to like the in-game content.
Yeah. I can't wait. But let's continue with, of course, the introductions. The next up, he used to be known as Rookie Sensation. Now he's Veteran Sensation. You know him as Pong Soul. What's up, brother? How the heck are you?
Good morning, Boom. Back on a Tuesday. Look at this. We got the full panel here. Yes. Look at 3-Bit's even growing out his beard again. Good to see you.
That's a handsome man right there, brother. We'll get to him. That is a handsome man right there.
No, man, what a great morning. We got news dropping everywhere, Boom. Man, it looks like things are starting to pick up as we head towards the 20th anniversary of Xbox. So, you know what? This is a great time to sit here with you, all my brothers, and talk about it. So let's get down to it. We got some great topics today, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, folks, listen, hopefully everyone's here that is a diehard Xbox fan. We have incredible topics. This is probably one of the most feature-rich shows that we've had this year. There's literally so much dropping, and that has dropped. We got Phil Spencer talking about acquisitions. I know it's Archimedes' favorite topic, but it's what he said and how he said it.
Today I'm fired up for that topic.
It's how he said it that gets everyone excited. Obviously, we have the disaster that happened today. We're going to get into that momentarily. That we're going to open up the show with. Xbox Wire quietly announced that we are going to have the 20th anniversary celebration on the 15th, which is great. That's that program. We're going to be covering it live. When I say we, I don't know who's doing what. I know that I've already put it out there that I'm covering the event live on my channel. We'll see if we can get a panel together. We're going to do a post and a pre and a post show as well. And it's going to be a very exciting day. And then, of course, then we're going to continue that celebration that evening with primetime gaming. And I have a huge guest list. There's literally so many people coming through that I'm going to start handing out schedule times. You can be in and be out, and we can get people out. It's going to be a big panel, and all of your favorites should be there. But I'm looking forward to that. But let's continue with Mav. Mav, obviously, this is the first time we have, podcast together since you made the announcement of PM in the PM. And I got to tell you, brother, ingenious representation. I thought it was an amazing title. I love the artwork. I mean, it's pure genius. How the heck are you, man?
Doing good. And you can credit the one and only Pong Soul for the name.
Nice.
he actually thought of that. My wife, of course, with the artwork, coming up with some awesome stuff. But yeah, we're excited to kick that show off on Thursday.
Nice.
And man, if there isn't a week to kick it off,
yes.
Holy cow!
I don't know what we're going to talk about, Mav. I don't know what we're going to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, it was kind of like, hey, I guess nothing's really happening this week. And then Tom Henderson starts dropping stuff. Hey, I hear that this Xbox 20th anniversary thing. Then I hear about a Splinter Cell, and all of a sudden everything's coming true or whatever. It's crazy, man. But I'm excited to be here.
Wait, Mav, hold on. Sorry to interrupt, but did you see 3-Bit's face when you said that name? Did you see his face?
Did he make
it? Yeah. He's trying to hide again. He's trying to hide.
3-Bit.
Listen, all I can say is that. It's funny you say that you bring these both of those into a conversation. Mav, there's something to be said about Splinter Cell with Xbox. They have a history. It launched exclusively. Now, again, it eventually did come to PlayStation, but it did launch exclusively as an OG Xbox game. Sam Fisher, for me, and I don't think I'm wrong when I say this, identifies with Xbox. It always has, and it probably always will. Now, couple of years ago, and again, folks, I don't have big connections. I have small ones. But a couple of years ago, I got dropped some information that there was a potential for a partnership to bring the next Splinter Cell as an exclusive to Xbox. Now, whether that be timed or whether it be a full-on exclusive, very similar to what happened with, let's say, for instance, Street Fighter V, right? That a lot of money went into that from Sony to help Capcom make that game, and to this day remains exclusive. Now, obviously, we don't have any more information, but we do have new information that Splinter Cell will and should be making an appearance sooner than later. That story we're going to cover on Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom, and I'm looking forward to that because that's going to be a big story. And who's to say that at this Xbox celebration that we don't get a Splinter Cell announcement, and because it's going to be a controlled event by Microsoft, we can see something where, all the lights go black. You see the 3 dots go, you hear the noise, and exclusive Xbox exclusive, and they just walk away from it, and that's it. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. I want to see that happen. But yeah, I mean, you guys are launching your show at a good time. This Thursday, what was it, 8 or 9?
It's actually at 7.
Oh, it's okay. So it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Thursday, and of course that you will have a lot to talk about. But let's continue with the introductions. Next up, Boxenberger. What's up, dude? And obviously, you have some choice words to say about how the EU is constantly getting screwed out of a lot of the Xbox stuff. And a perfect example is what happened today. How are you, man?
I'm still full with rage because of that mini fridge mess. But otherwise, I'm doing good. Just got off work. Was actually in a meeting that was scheduled till 7. It's 6 now here in Germany, just to clarify. So I left that meeting early because I had better things to do. And the better thing is definitely this podcast. It's always awesome to be here on the panel with Sammy, Pong, Mav, and 3-Bit. So I'm looking forward to a great show here today.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you, brother. And of course, last and no way least, making his return, obviously it was last week, but he's back again. Glad to have him on. Very, very smart individual, talented as all heck. 3-Bit, how are you, man? Welcome to the show.
Doing good, man. Been busy, but glad to be here with the panel. Got a lot of awesome topics to talk about today. Can't talk about you, B. Can't talk about you.
You have been busy, 3-Bit. You have been busy.
Well, listen, obviously you have the talent. Obviously you've worked with Ubisoft in the past, and you can hopefully will continue to do so, and maybe even some point get hired, because I think that now, what do? You freelance work? Is that what it is that you do?
Yeah, I do contract work for
Work.
Well,
It'd be great for you to actually eventually, potentially get picked up by the company, because obviously you do good work and they keep coming back to you. So there's something to be said there. But listen, folks, let's get into the controversy. Look, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I'm not a pile on the rabbit kind of a guy. I don't like the podcast like that. I certainly don't like being negative, but when it's called for, when a conversation, an adult conversation can happen, when we can bring something to the table to show our disappointment or displeasure with a particular situation, then we're going to have to do it. Like the kids say, we're going to keep it a buck, right? So today, we knew since last week that the fridge, the Xbox Series X 12-can replica refrigerator, was going to be available for $100, which is a very fair price. The actual, I was going to say console, the actual unit looks awesome. I mean, looks straight up like it would be your Series X. They did an amazing job on it. It's got lights on where you would expect it. It has even the white light with the Xbox logo that you know that it's on. That looks like it looks identical to the actual unit. It was an amazing job. What wasn't done in a proper manner was, in my opinion, folks. Now, again, take this with however you want to take it. As someone who collects GI Joes, like I collect the Xbox, the GI Joe Classified series, and Target has an exclusive with Hasbro. And as someone that collects these figures, it is always a nightmare to try and get them. When they release a figure, the bots come out in full force, and you're usually pretty much shit out of luck, right? And I've been on the wrong end of getting a particular release that I wanted more times than not. Well, unfortunately, that happened again today for many gamers. Unfortunately, and I think this was a terrible mistake. I don't know who at Xbox does their marketing or marketing research, I should say, but they didn't do it well enough, because partnering with Target, I understand that they're a big outfit, right? And you want everyone to, you want to put your product where it's going to get the most eyes, but at the same time, limiting your product, meaning the fridge, to one retailer is an awful mistake anytime. There are GameStops, there are Amazons, there are Walmarts, there are Best Buys, and this is an electronic device. Yes, it is a refrigerator, but at the same time, you can warrant or even justify this item being in any of those stores. It's game related, and the fact that they pigeonholed this item to one, in my opinion, a retailer that has the worst history in gaming when it comes to reserves. And like I said in the opening, we had a good, obviously we saw evidence that one dude got 160 plus units. Now I understand, and Zemi, I'm going to go to you first on this. Your thought process is that, well, it's a business and they're in to make money, but there are limitations. You tell me you got two, then I'm like, okay, well, lucky you got two. But when you tell me someone got 160 plus of these units and then is putting it up on social media to brag about it, it's a kick to the balls, in my opinion. And I think that there are 159 gamers who would have bought this product if they were given the opportunity to do so, and they couldn't. And I think that this is something that we're going to see in the next couple of days, where people are going to be posting. It's the same thing that happened with these outfits that had, 4,000 PlayStation 5s in someone's garage, or 3,000 Xbox Series X in their basement. I think it's ridiculous. And I understand it's a business, but it's also not right. What are your thoughts on the travesty that happened today?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I truly don't think that, at least for me personally, which, I'm not super amazingly read up on this, but I kind of just don't think that there's enough information for me to really sit here and say, oh, how dare you Xbox, or how dare you Target, or so on and so forth. Xbox did not manufacture these refrigerators by themselves, right? They worked with some third-party company to do this. All the details of that deal, I have no idea. I'm not privy to, right? I don't know if it was written in contract that Target gets exclusive pre-order rights for the month of October, for instance. I really have no idea, right? What I can say is that it sucks that these came out solely to Target, and that they were limited in supply, and a lot of people got burned and didn't get a product that they wanted. But I will say on the upside that this is definitely not the only refrigerators that they're going to be making. This is definitely a very, very hot item. It all started with a meme, and tons of people are really, really, really excited about this product. Xbox is going to continue to come out with more of these refrigerators. I heard online, and I think that Pong mentioned Aaron Greenberg State. I think, some December. Was that
December.
right? Yeah,
December.
That we're going to expect to see more of these. But then I also, heard that later on in 2022, we're going to see even more of them drop, right?
Aaron Greenberg just tweeted something about that. Sorry for interrupting.
No,
if it's okay, I'll just read out the tweet.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, go for it, brother. Absolutely.
Said, while supplies will be limited this holiday, it's not a limited edition product. We have more inventory coming early next year, and we'll keep making more as we look to increase supply in available markets in 2022.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, I mean,
there you go.
I mean, so, I get why everyone is upset. I truly do. But, if you really want one of these, you're going to eventually, hopefully, if you can afford it, get your hands on one, right? And in the meantime, we all have refrigerators that will keep our drinks cold, right? But it's really just going to be one of those waiting games, same as the consoles that, are still, very, very limited, but that people want. If you want an Xbox Series X, you're eventually going to get one. It's just a waiting game. And the global supply chain, right now in the world is really, really crappy right now, right? It's just one of those, it sucks, but just bear with it, and we will eventually get there. As far as the whole Target thing, being exclusive there, I don't know the behind the scenes deals of Xbox working with third parties or anything like that. I don't know if something was written in a contract. I'm sure that there's a really good reason, hopefully, why it was only available on Target in such limited numbers for pre-order, but I don't have that information. And like I said, I think that there probably is a pretty good reason why that occurred. But until we hear more about that, I don't really feel comfortable talking about if Xbox was in the right, or if Target was in the right, or who's to blame exactly.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. The problem is that they, again, look, I'm not trying to shit on Xbox here, and I don't like being negative, but I'm not going to pussyfoot about it. Okay, this is a bad look. That's the end of the story. It's a bad look, and there are a lot of people disappointed. I am sorry to say, I understand it's a business. I understand that they're in it to make money, but I'm not going to make excuses why this didn't happen the right way. Okay, You saw what happened with the bots. How come we're not ready for this? And I say I'm talking about Target and Microsoft. How do you partner with someone that has a track record as abysmal as Target, that they constantly are in the news for allowing bots to come in and sweep up entire stocks of whatever item? And I think that it's wrong. And I think that Microsoft, whoever it is, whether that be Greeny or his crew or someone within Microsoft, that to me, this is a dropped ball incident, and I'm not going to be nice about it. I'm not going to say I don't know who's to blame. Yes, there are two people to blame. It's Target and Microsoft for not doing the right thing to make sure that some asshole can't come out and buy 160 of these units and then brag about it on social media. That's it. That's it. That's my statement. But I'm gonna let everyone else talk. Pong, what is your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to get wound up about it because it's a refrigerator,
Right.
but it does speak to a bigger issue, right? You're correct, Boom, in that it speaks to in 2021 coming into 2022 that some retailers or a lot of retailers at this point still have not figured out how to fight against the bots and the scalpers, right? That is the bigger issue overall, and that's something that needs to be addressed because obviously this is not a one-off situation. Any hot products that come out, whether it be shoes, whatever it may be, always wind up in this situation. And some companies have figured it out, and other companies haven't figured it out. Now, again, I'm assuming that product placement, the decision for product placement, and to have it with Target, there was probably some bigger things involved. Obviously, price point was huge on this thing, right? $99 is about the most fair price ever.
I agree.
I never expected it to come in this low.
I actually, just like you, was very surprised.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that there's a bigger plan. Obviously, again, Aaron, Greenberg and stuff talked about it in their spaces right after they announced the fridge. And obviously he's putting out more saying, hey, look, this is not a limited product, right? This is something that they plan to have on shelves so that when you're walking through Target and maybe some other retailers down the road, we'll see, but specifically Target, since we're talking about them, when you're there at the store shopping, you're going to be able to just grab this thing. And at a $99 price point, this is one of those just impulse buy almost points, right? For a lot of people.
$100, dude. If you saw this, if you even remotely care, like even a pinch, you would not mind having this in your man cave or your NFL cave or whatever it is, because it's a cool item, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the good part, again, is that it's not going to be limited. So they're going to keep pumping these things out for as long as they're in demand. So eventually, like Zemi said, everybody will be able to get them. To speak on your point, Boom, again, yes, in 2021, 2022, that we haven't figured out how to protect, the consumer from the scalpers, that we haven't, figured out some way, with all the tech that's available now to get the systems to come up with a better way of getting these pre-orders out and allowing actual people to purchase the item that they are wanting on launch day for pre-order, whatever the case may be. That is a gigantic issue. It needs to be addressed. Again, the partnership between Target and Microsoft to get this done, what all went into that? Maybe there was a lot more behind the scenes, but at the end of the day, they did make the decision to go with Target. Target does have a history of this issues, them along with many other retailers. So, yeah, I mean, Boom, I get your frustrations for sure, and I get why you're upset because you think that they could make a better effort or find a better partner at this point out the gates to make sure this doesn't happen. This is the world we're in, and unfortunately, these companies still haven't gotten anything done about it. A lot of them, some of them have.
It's disappointing. Look,
it is.
I'm not getting in my feelings over this because, like you said, it's just a refrigerator.
Yeah.
But what I will not stand for, is it for us to put our heads in the sand, because when we continue to do that, then this stuff will never go away.
Right.
Microsoft themselves have fantastic software that stops the bots. I don't understand why Target doesn't go out of their way to purchase it. And I end again at the end of the day, Zemi's right. They're a business and they want to sell these units. But at the same time, it's got to be discussed how one dude can get 160 of these things. They're selling for 3 times the price on eBay right now. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't looking to get 10. I was looking to get one. And you know what? And if I could have got a second one, I would have given it away during the Christmas show. I would have specifically saved that, say, hey, this is one of our special giveaways. Good luck with that.
Exactly. And I don't, like I said, I understand your frustration, Boom. I think it's definitely a topic worthy discussing to continue to bring up until all these companies figure this garbage out. Because at the end of the day, yes, you want to sell your hardware, but you also, this was fan service right here, right? This was taking a meme and turning, and then they produced the actual life-size gigantic ones, gave them out to some, like Snoop Dogg and people like that. And all of a sudden everybody wanted, right. Everybody wanted an Xbox fridge. So you did this as a fan service. You took something that was a negative, turned it into a positive. And at the end of the day, you want these, just like the consoles, even if it is just a fridge, you still, when you go out and put in the effort and work and marketing to make this happen, you do want those in the hands of your actual customers. You don't want them sitting in the basement of somebody's house waiting to be sold for an exorbitant price online, right?
That is exactly why I don't understand why they don't bind it to your Xbox account or whatever.
Right. And
so
that's
that
something
the actual fans can get one.
Yeah, no, you're spot on with that. That should be something that we all sit back and go, God, why is it this hard? This should be this easy to do this, right? This should be this easy. And I hope that they look at this as this continues to happen and finally figure it out, because it should be that simple. If you got an Xbox account, you want an Xbox fridge, log in with your Xbox account, confirm. Hey, now you got your access to a pre-order on a new fridge, right? That's how easy this should be. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the way that it works at the top. I don't know what the deal is there. But you know what? Good news is if these scalpers can't get rid of this inventory, they're going to take a bath once these things become available in store. So the price is going to drop instantaneously. So everybody just can hold off on their FOMO a little bit and be patient. They're going to take a bath because they're going to be sitting on inventory they can't sell. So, but I agree with you, Boom. Something needs to be done. So
I mean, listen again. Sorry if I got on my high horse. I normally don't get emotional, but I just think that we have to stop making excuses for the $1 trillion companies, and that goes for both Target and Microsoft. What happened today should not have happened, because they both have the money and the means to make sure that their fan base isn't left out in the cold. And see, that is where the problem is. Like I said, I understand it's not limited, right? I totally get that. And again, it's typical Aaron Greenberg doing what he does best, right? We love Greeny for a lot of reasons. This is one of them. Gets out there on the socials. Folks, listen, if you didn't get it, don't worry. We're going to keep making it. And that's great. So we're all going to eventually get it. But the bottom line is that when you witness that it's just the scalpers buying this, and that's what happened today. I mean, listen, if you're in the chat, and we have almost 300 people here, if you got one, golf clap all the way. Congratulations. I'm not a hater. I'm a congratulator. If you got one, good on you for getting one, because it was very difficult. I mean, again, I was literally sitting in front of my computer and I didn't get one. And you know what? Okay, not a big deal. But again, I think that what really sets me off is seeing that Kay Asante drop with one guy gets 160. That's ridiculous. You want to tell me you got 3? All right, I hear you. Everyone's trying to make a buck here or there. You buy one for yourself, you buy one for your brother, and you get that third one you're going to sell and probably make double your money, and it pays for you and your brothers. I can't argue with that. That's the way of the world. But 160, ridiculous. Now, I want to get to Mav, but I definitely want to go to Boxenberger first. You were hot under the collar like myself for a couple of reasons. Because it appears that, and we've heard this before, that the UK, that side of the world seems to always get the short end of the stick when it comes to these things. What do you have to say about what happened today?
Yeah, it was a complete mess. I don't know how they didn't learn from the console pre-order thing. And I mean, who would have thought that it was easier to get a console than a mini fridge? I don't know. Something is wrong over there. Yeah, I heard from a very trusted source that the Germany, Austria, Switzerland region got only allocated with 1,000 units of that fridge, and the only store that was allowed to sell it was GameStop. And GameStop over here is, well, I don't have a single positive thing to say about them. They are a complete mess. Their online infrastructure is stuck in the year 1999. It's ridiculous. The site was down 1 hour before the pre-orders went online.
Wow.
Yeah. that was a complete mess. No one I know got one. I tweeted at Xbox DACH, which is the German-speaking unit of Xbox, and the head of Xbox DACH, she replied to me actually and said that the problem was that they outsourced the entire thing. The fridge was made by a third-party company, and they were also responsible for distributing it, and that's why this kind of thing happened. Every country had only one specific store that was allowed to sell that mini fridge, and that was what she had to say on it. Unfortunately, it's in German, but if you go to my feed and can speak German, you can read up on it. But it's that was what she had to say, and I have to say, well, it's good for her to reply, but the thing really is that's not an excuse, because Xbox were the ones that advertised the entire thing. It's their brand. They put out their brand on the spot, and I, as a customer, actually do not really care how they organize their allocation and sales system in the background. I really don't. I am a customer of Xbox, a fan of Xbox, and I want to have that mini fridge. And it's good that it's not a limited edition and that we will eventually get one. But yeah, it's still very disappointing. I haven't seen one single guy replying that he got one. I have seen one guy posting a screenshot of eBay, the German eBay site, and there are already 250 something fridges on eBay that you can get, and that's where the 1,000 units that were allocated us are now, and that's just a mess, and I don't think it's doing the fans justice. And like I said, I don't get it why they don't tie it to your Xbox account or whatever.
I like that idea. That's a fantastic. That's actually quite ingenious. Someone actually dropped a super chat regarding that. I'll read that in a second.
And that is really the thing where if I didn't get one, okay, fine, then I wasn't just lucky enough. But if I knew that the other fans, Xbox fans, at least got one, that the other fridges went to the fans and not to scalpers, then that would be okay for me.
Yeah.
But this way, knowing that it's just for the scalpers out there, yeah, that's just sad. And yeah, let's hope that we will get one next year then.
Yeah, no, great stuff. Mav, let's get to you, brother, and then we'll get 3-bit, and then we'll get on to one of the other big breaking stories today, and that's the 20th anniversary confirmed for November 15th. But Mav, Boxenberger makes a great point. If 1,000 fans of Xbox get it, then you know what? You slow, you blow, right? That's not a problem. If you are someone that you just weren't quick enough with the F5 button, right? Your trigger finger was a little slow, and you're like, well, at least the fans got it. But when you look at something like what happened today, and and that's just one story, how many 160 units scalping are out there? What, 5, 10, 1,000, right? So the units that were allocated for 2021, a good portion of those are not going to the fans. They're going to sit in a garage or in a storehouse or a warehouse or one of your self-storage places, and it's just going to sit there. And and what's again frustrating is that this was done for the fans. This is fan service. What's your opinion on this?
Well, I look at it a couple ways. Like, obviously, it's a huge issue, and it's a retailer issue that goes to lots of different products. It goes to lots of different things, right? Not just this, right? So this goes above and beyond just this mini fridge and Xbox, right? So as far as that issue, something needs to happen with all the retailers where they actually start caring about scalpers, right? Because this is going to continue until they care. But do they care? Probably not, because the scalpers help them sell out instantly whenever these
Yes.
things happen. So unless that changes somehow, this is going to continue to be a problem. And the only people that can make the change is the retailers themselves implementing systems and stuff like that. Now, if you have a special product like this, Xbox could do other means, like you guys are saying, like hey, maybe some kind of list or like attaching it to your gamer tag and all that stuff. But then when you look at this, right? When you look at this in and of itself, like I just want to judge it based on this product alone. Okay. What a world that we live in that we're even talking about Xbox's supply of mini fridges, right? Like this is like crazy because a year ago, who would have thought that that would be the conversation we'd have? Is Xbox doesn't have enough mini fridges for everybody, right? It's absolutely crazy.
True that.
So the thing is, they only made this for because of the fans, right? And usually companies don't do stuff like this,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
Xbox go and make like Zemi was alluding to, make probably strategic partnerships and deals with companies to be able to put out a product that they don't have any history of making, right? So they came out with this fridge at a crazy low price point, one that I am on record before as saying, no way, it's going to be 100, it's going to be 150, just because I couldn't feasibly think about how they could get it out with everything that they would have to do, uh, and with the partnerships and everything they'd have to make to have a product like this out there for $100, right? But they made it happen. So part of this with the retailers may possibly be one of the reasons why we got that low price point, and maybe one of the reasons why this product was able to exist in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
I can't go necessarily and say like, hey, you shouldn't be making a deal with Target and these other places, because we may not even be able to get this at all if it wasn't for stuff like that taking place, right? We don't know exactly what goes on all behind the scenes. Now, does Target deserve some crap for allowing somebody to have a bot that can buy 160 fridges? Absolutely. But when I look back at it and I'm seeing what they said about in the future, we're going to be able to still get them. They're going to keep making them. You're going to be able to get them in store. Personally, I'm not too concerned about it. I'll get one when they're available and I can walk in and grab it, and I'll be happy. But the only reason people are upset is because we want it so bad, which means
Yeah.
Xbox hit it on the mark, right? With a product like this, and like I said, it's just crazy that we're talking about Xbox mini fridges now, and like I'm not saying we shouldn't, but like it's just weird, right? It's just weird that like we're talking about Xbox mini fridges because they have done so good with this for the fans to be able to have a product like this even available for us to purchase in the first place. So I'm not going to knock them too much for what's going on with this, because I think a lot of that may be because there's only a limited amount to begin with. They don't know how well 100% it's going to do. That maybe the partner that they are working with is only able to produce so many. They wanted to get them out before the holiday. They chose strategic partnerships for pricing and also for um, stock, and to be able to ship and all these things. All these things go on behind the scenes, and it's way more complicated than I would assume to know. Right. So as far as that, I'm not going to criticize them too much. It does suck for everybody that wanted one. They won and weren't able to get it, but you will be able to eventually, because they've went on to say that.
And
That-
you're
pretty
and
much
you're 100% right. No, you're absolutely 100% right. But like I said, at the end of the day, I think what really gets taken away is the fact that yes, this was made for the fans, and the fans are not getting it. And I think that is what's disappointing. I mean, Zemi is definitely onto something regarding the business aspect, and for sure and I think you definitely made a point of it as well. They just want to sell these, but I think at $100, they're gonna sell, and obviously they didn't sell to fans, and maybe a couple of. I saw one guy on my timeline. One dude got it, and I was like, "Yeah, congratulations, brother. That's awesome." Everyone else that are constantly going, I'm going back and forth with on Twitter or in the DMs, like, "Yeah, man, I didn't get one. I had one in my cart. It was taken. I had one. I was getting ready to press the purchase button, and it was gone." and again, that is what's disappointing, is that yes, this was made for the fans. This was complete, this was made based on a meme, folks. So the fact that we are talking about mini fridges on a gaming podcast is slightly ridiculous, but it's also very relevant. And it's a shame that with as much information as it's out there, as Target being really poor with their servers, having really bad bot situations on almost everything that's pre-orderable, the fact that nothing was done is, in my opinion, ridiculous. Like I said, it almost seems as if someone, whether that be on Xbox or on Target or both of them, figured, let's just stick our heads in the sand and pretend that this doesn't exist. That's what it seems
Well,
like.
the other thing too is like, this isn't exclusively just a Target problem, because in Europe I think they released with Game, right?
That's just in the UK.
Game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
here
in
in
the
Germany,
UK,
it's
I've seen
GameStop.
threads, they were talking about this exact same thing with Game. So it's not just Target. It's all
GameStop
the
the
retailers.
same.
I might have misunderstood what Archimedes was saying earlier, but Archimedes, whenever you were talking about the statement that the person that works for Xbox Germany like sent you, did you say that he or she said that the third-party partner was in control of distribution?
Yes, exactly. That's
okay.
exactly what she said.
So it wasn't Xbox that decided to go only with
they
Target.
outsourced the entire thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I get from the point, like, yeah, you can say, well, Xbox should, choose better partners and this and that, but I mean, they got $100 price, point, right?
And this
other
product may
other
not exist
distributors
unless
or
they
other
made that
partners,
partnership.
they could have probably gotten, might have charged more, right? So I mean, it's not necessarily 100% led up to Xbox that this only came out in Target, right?
No, but with that said,
there's a lot of people involved. Is ultimately what I'm trying to say.
There are a lot of people involved, but at the end of the day, and again, I hear what you're saying, and you're right. When there's a lot of hands making this soup, sometimes it can get spoiled. The problem is that Xbox logo, Xbox mini fridge, Xbox is promoting it. It's clearly falls on the shoulders, whether that be the case or not. It's going to be looked at as a fumble by Microsoft because it's their product. It is a replica Series X.
As far as I go, like the main thing that I think about with this is, yes, it sucks, but then at the same time, without those partnerships that they chose, we may not have one at all.
Yeah, and that's true.
Right.
That's true.
So that's where I'm like, okay, they went and did something like this, which is like very not common, right? That to have something like this go out. Like, so when I'm looking at this, it's like, would I rather have it and not be able to get it right now, or would I rather not potentially have it at all?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Listen, again, listen, again, we're not going to spend any more time on this. We have a lot to get into. 3-bit, let's get your quick opinion on this. Seeing everyone, and again, there's a range of emotions. I'm reading the chat. There are a lot of people that are disappointed, like me. Some people are like, whatever. And if that's your your angle, hey, listen, that's awesome. I'm just saying that as a fan of the box, as someone that was looking forward to what is considered by some to be, what's the big deal? It's just a mini fridge. Okay. In fact, it's just a mini fridge. And you know something? I don't even know where the hell I'm going to put the thing, to be honest with you. That doesn't take away from the fact that we have companies that know that there's a problem and no one is addressing it. See, that is the issue at hand. But 3-bit, by all means, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the bad portion of this to me isn't the fridge itself. I think we all sort of went to that. It's the system as a whole, like of scalpers taking advantage of the system, right? I think a lot of retailers don't have systems in place for fan bases like gamers who love products like these. The problem that bots create is actually just holding the product to resell, losing some consumer trust over time by selling products to I guess not actual people. And you see this with like shoe companies. Shoe companies a lot are trying to figure out different ways of battling this, because they're kind of similar to the gamer fan base, where they're
just as big, I would imagine.
Shoes. Yeah, that's a huge another market. But I mean, there are bots out there who can send hundreds of DMs in like a tenth of a second, and then there's also like an actual market of people who sell bots, so shoppers have an improved chance to get their product. Like it's even evolved to websites being created where you can pay bot makers to hold a product for you. So if someone wanted a Series X, or let's say another Xbox comes out, they just pay that bot maker like, hey, hold this product for me, and it's like guaranteed. So just stuff like that is just, there needs to be some sort of system in place. I'm starting to understand why with Aaron Greenberg's post where they're like, okay, we're gonna have more in stock, it'll be in the store, unless you hire an army of people to storm your nearby Target, then it can be a bit better. But there has to be someone needs to just, these are $1 trillion companies, like you were saying, right? They need to figure out a way to sort of combat these botters and scalpers. It's kind of hard because these botters and scalpers are made to look like real people. So
Yeah.
you know, it is a tough challenge. I know a lot of us are saying like, oh, we need to figure out a way, and I'm saying that as well. But it's kind of tough. It is kind of tough, but hopefully everyone gets their fridge. I was actually on the page. I saw it go within a second.
Yeah, it literally was. It was a microsecond, is what it was. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I was on the page. It literally like disappeared in front of my eyes. Like I clicked on it, like, okay, it's gone.
Yeah, guy in the chat, Matthew V drops. He says, I refreshed the Target page 20,000 times until it went live, and in an instant, it was sold out. I mean, again, it's just, listen, folks, that's a frustrated Boom. I said my piece. Now we're going to get into what we're here. Right here to talk about games, not fridges. We're going to keep it all positive. But I'm going to hand it over to Pong. Pong Soul wrote the next topic. He is a very talented dude. Obviously, you know, you watch him on Saturday mornings on Living Split Screen with his brother. And they do Steel Rain and him do a great show each and every week. By all means, take it away, Pong.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, to no surprise, Phil Spencer's out here doing interviews yet again, right? So we know Phil, we love
And
Phil.
we
He's out here talking.
Phil Spencer interviews.
That's right. He had the shelf in full effect. There was people trying to dissect that yesterday, but he did an interview with Sarah Needleman from Wall Street Journal, and they were doing a tech live. A bunch of different interviews across all industries, but Phil happened to be one of them. And she interviewed Phil, and great interview. But he came out with some, really, good comments that we've talked about here before, solidifying yet again where their position is, especially with acquisitions and a couple of other key topics as well. And obviously, as far as the acquisitions go, I'm going to quote from the interview. He stated, "We're definitely not done. There is no quota, no timeline where I have to go acquire studios by a certain time. But if we find a studio where we have a good fit, absolutely." Yeah. End quote. So Phil once again comes through with this position that, hey, and he said definitely, right? There was a couple key things here. So he said, we're definitely not done. And usually when somebody says definitely, that means that there's something in his brain, psychologically speaking, where he already knows stuff, right? So he's saying we're definitely not done. He also said there's no quota. Now, you could take that a couple different things. We're in speculation town because we're on Xbox Factor Podcast.
No, hold on. Wait, let me stop you there. We're not in speculation town. And according to Zemi, we're in speculation universe.
All right. Well, we got the 3 co-mayors of a universe then, because I don't know what else you would call somebody who runs a universe. But hey, we're here. So again,
the watcher.
Exactly the watcher. We got So you can take quota a couple different ways. You can look at that as limiting, or you can look at that as him saying we're not limited in any way, shape, or form when it comes to acquisitions, right? So that was another key point. No timeline. Again, there's been a lot of talk about this. We've talked about it here, Boom, right? Timeline can mean that a lot of us expect, because Microsoft has a lot of cash on hand, and obviously with inflation, with taxes and all that kind of stuff, there's this sense that there's a certain amount of money that Microsoft has to spend, and obviously a part of that money will be allocated to acquisitions for Xbox as being one of the main pillar divisions now within the corporation. So we kind of have had this narrative or this talking point that we expect something to be done fairly soon. I think what Phil is saying here, that obviously there's no, hey, if Satya hasn't come to Phil and said, hey, we've got to have this many studios, or we've got to have this many purchases by this date, right? Phil's saying basically it's wide open, right? We could be doing acquisitions years from now, which is what we kind of expect. But he did, obviously state that as well. And then the word fit, when he talks about what studios are going to go after, we've talked about this as well when we go in these discussions, fit being one of the key words, that Xbox isn't out here willy-nilly buying whatever studios just come along, right? It's going to be something that does make sense within their structure and how they work together. But fit is a big word. Fit can be used in a lot of different ways. Obviously, if they go and they are looking to the east, and Phil has been for a very long time, and let's say acquisition comes down of a big a publisher over from the east. Look, management style wise, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because they do business differently over there. But fit means, hey, we're filling a need. We want to get in over there, right? So fit can be used in a lot of different ways, no matter who they go out and get. Phil went on to say in this interview too, they asked him about the 30 million Xbox or the Game Pass subscription number that Strauss from Take-Two put out there. They asked him again, and he said, quote, "We're sticking with our last public number, 18 million subscribers. We will announce another number at some point." So, and he laughed. He gave the regular Phil laugh when he ever gets a question that he, knows is coming. And
Phil.
Yeah, Uncle Phil's got the plan in place in his head, how he's gonna answer it. So again, they're sticking with that 18 million number, but he did confirm they're going to be talking about another number at some point, which we also expect, I would imagine, it's before the end of the year or sometime coming into the new year, when they will announce their next big marker point, right? The next big hit that they've made, which we assume will probably be that 30 million number. So a couple good things came out of this interview. I know everybody here probably saw it yesterday. So Boom, starting with you, what did you take away from the interview? What did you see with these quotes?
Well, first of all, what I loved is the way that he was very steadfast in his commentary, right? Like he didn't take a step back. He stood strong, and he used some big key phrases. I think the most important one is fit. And like you said, it could mean a lot of things. What I think fit could potentially mean, and again, someone may interpret it differently than me, is that when he says fit, he's talking about having a history, right? Potentially a history with said developer. Now, we have heard that the 3 teams that are currently not Microsoft first party that are doing first party games could be, picked up. A Crystal Dynamics could be picked up from a Square Enix. We've heard that they were unhappy with the Western division and that we could potentially see them sell off that aspect, right? We have a few teams working on other games that could, of course, join Xbox Game Studio as solely individual developers, but then would become a part of XGS. I think that him clarifying that there's no time frame tells me that there may be stuff that they're working on that could potentially take a couple of years. Again, I don't know for sure how long the Bethesda deal took, but I would imagine that even before it was announced, it was a couple of years, might have even been a year, project before it was even known. Remember, we had heard that Sony was going to purchase Bethesda at one point, right? That was a big running rumor, and it turned out to be that conversations within the industry of them being picked up by someone happened. So I like the way Phil handled it. I do like the idea that he didn't put a time frame on, when does Microsoft start and stop with an acquisition? Well, we don't know, but all we do know is that there's no time frame for it. So we could be having this conversation, which of course is Boxer Bears or Boxenberger or Archimedes, aka favorite conversation to have 3 years
Oh,
from
for
now.
sure.
Oh yeah, I expect to hear what you have to say. But all jokes aside, it was another great. Listen, Phil's the leader of the Xbox division for a reason, and he handled all of those questions like a pro. He answered. I like I said, if you would have asked me, well, Boom, what do you think how he's going to answer it? I don't know what I would have said, but I don't think I would have picked the way he said it. I think he really did make it clear that Xbox, more so Microsoft, is not done. There is no time frame, and what's interesting, coming off of the controversy with Microsoft just buying studios because they can, right? This tells us that they are specifically looking for developers or partners that will fit the Xbox division. And that in itself tells me that they're not just going to be going around and picking up any Tom, Dick, and Jane, that they're going to be looking for a team that fits the ideology that's currently at Xbox Game Studios. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Boom, wholeheartedly. Like you said, there's different ways to take it. Different words used here that some people hear and think one way and another person can hear another way. But I think overall, the message was clear about where they stand on this and where they're moving forward on this. Let's go to Zemi. Zemi, what did you take out of this interview?
I love hearing Phil. I just love hearing Phil. At the risk of sounding like a fanboy,
no. When he speaks, it's like Ian Putton.
Yeah,
you want to listen.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I mean, just the way that he speaks is the way that a PR textbook reads. You know what I mean? He just he's great. He really is great at communicating his ideas very, very thoroughly, but also very carefully and very strategically. Whatever I hear, they're looking. With that being said, a lot that he mentioned, I don't think really comes out being a huge shocker. I don't think that there's any, groundbreaking news. More or less, it's just reaffirming kind of what we already knew, right? Yep. Whenever he says we're looking for companies that fit with us, I agree with Boom. I think that, it's definitely looking for companies that they have, past relationships with and so on and so forth. But I think it's also that, they're looking for strategic, acquisitions. And what I mean by strategic is, they don't have a fighter really on the platform. So maybe they acquire NetherRealm, right? Maybe they want to get, more third, person over the shoulder content. So they're going to get Crystal Dynamics, filling those gaps into Game Pass, I think also is kind of what he means whenever he says, filling gaps, right? Or finding companies that fit. Right. I think that's also, what he means. Of course, there's also culture that, to think about, they may not necessarily want to get a company that has vastly different culture than what, Xbox is currently working with and so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot, that can be said, about it, trying to get a company that fits with you. But whenever you boil it down, I think, following what Xbox has currently done with their acquisitions, finding companies that they've worked with in the past that have, similar culture to them, but also fill a gap. I think that's ultimately, fill a gap in their first party, portfolio of games. I think that's ultimately what he means whenever he says, find, companies that fit with, the Xbox brand. The whole idea that there's no quota, I think that there's no quota right now, of course. Eventually there's going to be a quota, right? Microsoft, everybody likes to say, well, Microsoft's a $2.5 trillion company. They can buy anyone. Yeah, but they didn't get $2.5 trillion by making bad decisions, right? There is a quota, or maybe not right now, but there will be eventually. There is a limited number of companies that, Satya Nadella is going to, accept, Xbox, or accept Microsoft purchasing for Game Pass and so on and so forth. Where we're talking about the time limit, there really isn't, necessarily a time limit. I think that really the biggest time limit right now is what are the other companies out there and what are they trying to acquire compared to what Xbox is trying to acquire, which, acquisitions, they take a long time. It's not like we're just going to go sign the paperwork tomorrow and we're going to own this company. There's a lot of negotiations, a lot of conversations. And so there's also a lot of transition between, what that company is currently doing and how we're going to fit it into what we're doing and into our, company structure or whatever. One thing I hear a lot is that, Xbox has, X amount of dollars just, sitting ready to spend, right? And because of that, everyone kind of thinks that Xbox is just immediately going to go out and spend that, right? Which I don't think is necessarily true. I mean, I get the whole idea of, well, that money is currently not in any, long-term or short-term investments. So, they're not making anything off that money if it's just sitting into a bank account. If anything, they're losing money because whenever you're talking about the large quantities of money that Microsoft has sitting around, if they're, just have it sitting in a bank, inflation is, is not fun. And inflation definitely is going to, make Microsoft lose money on that money just sitting in their bank account. But I don't think that necessarily indicates that they're immediately going to go and buy something. Whenever we talk about acquisitions on this podcast, and we talk about it a lot, we always like to think, well, we're going to hear it, this next month, or we're going to hear something by the end of the year. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I get all sorts of excited whenever I hear acquisition, right?
We all do. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we're going to hear something this year. It could be next year. It could be 2023 for all that we know. But, we do know that Xbox is looking, or Microsoft rather, is looking to acquire more companies. We didn't even need Phil Spencer to tell us that because Satya Nadella has already told us that. And I think we've heard it from several other people at Microsoft. And really and truly, the last time that I think talked about this last week, I think one major idea popped up. It's not if, it's when. And that's really the truth here. They're going to acquire somebody. And, it's just a waiting game at this point, just to see who they get.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're in the growth phase, right? They're growing right now with Game Pass, right? So like you were talking about, Zemi, the quota statement, sure, there probably is at some point where they go, okay.
Maybe not right now, but there will be.
Right, there will be. But obviously that's going to be a lot dependent upon how fast, how quickly Game Pass grows, what markers they want to hit, what goals they have, and how far out that plan goes. And obviously a lot of that strategy is going to shift as we get down the road. Their strategy's already shifted because of how fast Game Pass grew due to the pandemic and everything else. Obviously things have escalated with xCloud and all that kind of stuff, getting their servers updated, the server blades updated with the series consoles. That was pushed forward because of how many people wanted to get access to gaming right now because people have been stuck inside. So that will definitely shift the strategy. So 3-Bit, let's mix up the order here a little bit. 3-Bit, did you get a chance to watch the interviews, just from the quotes themselves, whether it's the Game Pass quote, whether it's the acquisition quote, what did you pull from Uncle Phil? And did you get kind of the same feelings that Zemi, Boom, and I did? Or do you have a different thought on it?
Yeah, I think it just further confirms what we on the panel know, that Microsoft is going to continue to get studios that are a good fit for them. I know we want them to buy them 1-800-877 cash now, right? We want them to we want to see them purchase these studios like right now, but they're figuring out what works for them, right? In the grand scheme of things. For example, a lot of people say Microsoft should buy Rockstar, and I agree, but only for the one IP, which is like Grand Theft Auto. They have to do like what makes sense for them and seeing as they are wanting continuous content and something like Game Pass, and Rockstar takes like 6 to 7 years per title. It might make sense if they relied on the other studios, right? Or it might not be a good investment for them. So I'm sure they have the numbers for that. They have the data. They are talking to these teams, figuring out what works for them. Business dealings aren't one note or simple. You have the main outline of what you want to happen, which is like, I want to have this studio. I want to get these games out of it. And then you need enough passionate people to actually want to make it happen. And how do you do that? You cultivate trust between different team members, which comes naturally in already bought teams, because it's proven. It's already proven that these teams have a pipeline for making things like that happen. So it is a lot easier to purchase a studio that it already has that track record. And I always try to bring this up, but whenever you do talk about an acquisition, you do have to mention the history of what Microsoft has acquired so far, and you put that into the mix. And so far, they've been acquiring private studios, and it's a lot easier to acquire private studios, a lot less paperwork than purchasing a whole public division where you have where you are.
It also can remain secret until you obviously.
Yes.
Because when it's a publicly traded company, they have a certain amount of time by law, if I let people don't know that, to make the announcement to their shareholders, which i.e. would be us, because I have Microsoft stock, would be they'd have to say, hey, listen, we intend to buy so-and-so, and that's when it's publicly. So I think you're onto something with the private traded companies.
Yeah, I mean, ZeniMax was a huge company, right? It was a huge company, but it was a private one.
All right.
And like you were saying, like with public companies, if you own stock in that company, especially if you own like a specific percentage, like a really high percentage, then you get to make decisions on the board. So that's like a public company. But not saying it can't be done where Microsoft won't purchase a public company. We've heard rumors that they were trying to buy something like a WB, and they have the money to do so. It's all about figuring out what their messaging is and where they're looking to grow and bringing people into their ecosystem. We already heard Phil say, like, we want to bring, I forgot what the number was, but it was a huge amount of people into the Xbox ecosystem. And the way to do that is to what you are constantly buying different studios and diversifying your portfolio and just sort of filling in the gaps that they feel like they might not have. Phil really loves Japanese studios and things like that. So maybe that'll be a studio they might be looking at, some type of Japanese studio. They have third-party deals as well. So it's going to be very exciting. Like anything, like when Zenny was saying, I love hearing Phil talk because he gives you like hints to what the future could be, but he's also very smart about.
He's a shark.
Works.
He's a shark card player. He tips the hand just so you think you know what you got, and then he drops a royal flush on you, and he takes the pot, and you're like, damn.
He's very practiced in his approach, right? He understands that he's got to be careful too, because he's speaking to investors, he's speaking to consumers. There's a lot that goes into that. I can't imagine making sure I keep straight in my head what I can say and what I can't say when I'm doing all these interviews. Yes,
PR ninja.
I would not want the job.
No,
right?
No,
I'll just say that I would not want the job.
I would be hiding out somewhere and say no interviews. I don't want to talk because I'm going to say something wrong completely. So no, Archimedes, I know you've been chomping at the bit, brother. I know you probably got your list of studios all listed out. You're gonna break
all
down
listed
each
up,
one.
all listed up. I truly appreciate you guys considering that we don't go into that discussion again.
No, we're not going to go into that discussion. Archimedes, did you just have any overall thoughts about what Phil said? Did anything catch your eye or
thoughts?
I
I always look with two different perspectives on these Phil Spencer interviews, because the one thing is, of course, the actual news that comes out of it. The other thing is really, for me, always interesting to look at him and trying to understand how he ticks as an executive, as a manager, because we always talk about him being gamer and that community guy, and that may be true, but he is in the board of management of one of the most valuable companies in the world. So he is a diehard manager and executive, and it's always interesting for me to just see how he thinks about stuff and how he approaches the gaming industry as in general. For instance, what didn't get mentioned so far in our discussion here is he was also asked about VR and why Xbox doesn't have VR hardware. And I thought his answer was kind of in that spirit. It was a management answer. He just said, well, the technology is very interesting and very promising, but Microsoft is a software company, and as much hardware as they do the hardware to fit the software, and that's the way he approaches these kind of things. And as long as they don't have the software killer app, they don't see the need to make the hardware. That's just a management way of thinking of things, and I'm always excited to learn stuff like that and how he ticks and how he approaches things. And I mean, about the studio acquisition, all has been said. There's zero news about it. It's just repeating what has been said multiple times by many Xbox executives. The thing about the Game Pass subscribers is very interesting, though, because I was really thinking, why don't they give an update? Again, try to look at it from a management perspective. If you go out and say, well, we have now, let's say 25, 30 million, whatever kind of subscribers, that could generate more interest on the business side of things. It could bring in bigger publishers, bigger names for game releases, closer to launch or even day and date releases. So I was wondering, why don't they give an update? The last update was in February. Yeah, that's quite a long time where we didn't get an update. He was dancing around again and saying, well, the last public number was 18 million. And that was also kind of interesting because it made me really wonder, why didn't they say it? And I mean, today we got the announcement. I think we are going to talk about it in a second, what is coming up with the anniversary event. And I could really see them announce the new number there and say, well, and we have achieved let's say 30 million subscribers in Game Pass, because it seems to me very strange that he doesn't give an answer, because from a business side of view, I see it as a benefit. Yeah, when you go out and want to bring new games in and can say to, let's say, Activision or whatever, EA is already in there, but Ubisoft, bring in the next big game, day and date. We have like 30 million subscribers. That's an advertisement. I don't know why they didn't do it, but it might be that thing that they want to announce at the big anniversary event. So, overall, great interview. It's always interesting to listen to Phil. He's got such a great perspective, and I think we as gamers can sometimes learn about the bigger picture of the gaming industry and not just our either the console pro-con discussion, let's call it that, and not wars, or the smaller things like, well, I didn't get a mini fridge. He looks at the bigger picture. Where is the industry going in the next 5-10 years? What are trends? Where does he see gaming evolve in, and where does it evolve to? And that's why I'm always so excited to hear him talk.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I wonder if they just hold back the milestones for public facing, but high level conversations with publishers and stuff, like Strauss, he seemed to know that the number was bigger. So I wonder if high level discussions when they're talking about bringing games in, that they, the real numbers, or at least a roundabout number of where they're at are discussed at that point. It's just this public facing, they want to hold those milestones kind of.
They may be saving Game Pass subscriber numbers until like they release their financial reporting, like early.
That could be a part of it too. That could be definitely a part of it. There's a lot to consider when they talk about those numbers. There really is. Mav, co-mayor of the speculation universe as we now call it. You and I have had lots of conversations. Obviously, we had Acquisition Thursday when that was a big deal. But just overall, your thoughts on, what Phil was talking about yesterday. He made a lot of different points. Archimedes even just brought up the VR stuff. He did talk about xCloud as well, and he still sees it as being that vehicle in the future that is going to open up gaming for more and more people. What did you think about his interview? Where did you pick up on?
Well, I think he just let it all out there in a way, because if you look at now, I know we look too much into words. We look too much into words sometimes. However, there's some interesting word choices used.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
He said, this cracks me up. He actually said, "I acquire studio." And that makes me chuckle. He's walking around with his briefcase, seeing who's a good fit.
He's the overlord of acquisitions, right?
Right. There's no quota on when I need to acquire studios. So he's just walking around, saying, "Hey, who's a good fit
That's
here?"
big stick Phil right there, brother.
I know, and it's great. And you get that picture of how much control he may have and
Right.
how much influence he has in these decisions, right?
Right.
So that is promising alone, because for me, in Phil, I trust, right?
Right.
To find those studios that are a good fit. Now, the good fit may be, will you take my money, right?
Right.
Who knows how loose the definition of good fit means? It means hey, who's here is willing to take this bag of money here and bring all of their games over to Xbox? What kind of get can we? Because there's a case we can make for a lot of different studios, a lot of different publishers that are good.
We've
fits,
done it.
right?
We've done it.
We have. So I'm curious, what meets that definition?
Yeah.
What? Because he's made these comments before. Satya Nadella has made these comments before, and then they announced shortly thereafter they've acquired 5 studios that have already been in the works, right? So we don't know what's been going on behind the scenes, but it seems like the good news is that the market's open and
Yep.
the investment is high, right? And this just instills confidence in that they are not done bringing more value to Game Pass, because that's what this is about.
Right.
And if when we broke down how many games are coming to Game Pass in Xbox over the next 6-7 years, it was astounding to think about that number. And when they make more acquisitions, it's only going to add to that, right? So it's just fascinating how deeply invested Microsoft is with Xbox, and to where you can have in an open interview with the freaking Wall Street Journal or whoever, and you're going out there saying, "Yeah, we're openly still looking to acquire more studios," right? That holds a lot of weight. That's not like before when they kind of give the talk of "Yeah, we're happy where we're at right now, but
Right.
we'll see if anything happens in the future. We're not going to say no to a great fit, but we're not actively looking," right?
Right.
This is "Hey, we're actively kind of looking, and when the right thing hits, we're gonna make the move."
Right.
That's what this is saying, So there's a reason why all this acquisition talk keeps happening, and it's because of things like this.
Yep.
So whenever somebody out there says, "Hey guys, cool it with the acquisition talk," we're like, "Hey, but Phil said,"
Right.
Satya said,
Right.
let's look at this and realize that it is the thing of it's when, not if. So as long as the when, not if exists, the who will also be speculated about. And I freaking love that. But as far as the Game Pass numbers as well, Pong, I think that we are waiting for some milestone announcement, right? They are obviously sitting on something way more than 18.
Correct.
Yes.
I think it's closer to that 30, but we don't know for sure. But the Take-Two CEO doesn't just throw a random number out there,
Yeah,
right?
he's doing the no to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
And
high
if
level
you-
conversation.
And if you think about, okay, we got this fan event coming, right?
Yep.
Celebrate the 20th anniversary of Xbox. It'd be a good time to make and a milestone announcement like that potentially about the future of Xbox as well. Looking forward to the next 20 years, as it was alluded to in that post. They did say no new game announcements. So I look at it as a celebration of the history of Xbox, as well as potentially you may get some cool little nuggets like that. Or if they're waiting for just one specific number, they may hold off at that point. But if we are closer to that 30 million mark by January, then you look at it, the last time they reported was January last year or earlier this year, which was 18 million.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
if you take that 1 year, you're looking at 1 million Game Pass subs a month.
That's what they've been averaging.
Yep.
Just
Great pace.
slightly above 1 million per new subs per month.
And that's only going to
And
get
I mean,
that's
boosters
without
are
any
coming.
first party
Yeah.
games.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy. 11 new games are about to hit Game Pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
I-
And I mean,
it's
the big
amazing.
dogs are coming: Forza Horizon 5, Age of Empires 4, and of course Halo Infinite. Over the course of the next 6 weeks or something,
Ridiculous.
6-7
Yeah.
weeks. That's crazy. And 2022 not going to be any less releases. Yeah, we already know about Stalker 2 coming day one, Redfall, Starfield, all these games. Game Pass is going to grow so big.
Perfect time for the holiday surge. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yes.
no matter what, like you were saying, Mav, it's just always good to hear this, even if we've heard it before, because what that means is we, the gamers, are
We
winning
win.
at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's where it's at. No matter what happens, we are winning. We are the focus. They want more of us in the ecosystem. So yeah, no, just a fantastic interview. Hey, thank you all for your thoughts on this topic. Boom, thank you for letting me lead the topic, and I'll kick it back to you. We got more to talk about, brother. So.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
And good stuff as always. So here's the thing.
There you go.
okay.
You're muted.
Yeah,
Boom.
I'm back.
You
Oh,
cut
there
out
you
there
go.
for
Okay. All
a
right.
quick
Yeah, no, I
second.
had to mute myself because my phone went off, and that's very unprofessional. So here we go. We have to get into the lead topic, or at least one of the lead topics. Obviously, we have you know what? Before we even get into that, let me catch up on these ridiculous.
You
You
gotta
got,
get way
you got a
behind.
big list.
It is thanks to Zemi keeping it because it's my God. First of all, the first one of the day comes in as a big bomb from our good friend Army Veteran. He drops an outstanding $20 super chat and says, "Man, that fridge online is garbage, just like the Halo console pre-orders. I already spent $1K each on 2 pre-orders just to make sure I can get it." He says 2,000 total after spending 15 hours outside of GameStop for the Series X pre-order. Yeah, that's
Hey,
very
Boom,
disappointing.
can I give you a quick story about Army Veteran? Real
Yes,
quick?
sir.
It's a little fun nugget here.
Yes.
So last year I had just started the channel and I was doing the podcast and stuff. And I was like, hey, the Series X launch event is happening. I'm going to go and like buy some food and go out in front of GameStop and see who's camping out the night before and go and see if. So I show up and there's one guy standing outside. I pull up in my truck. I'm like, hey, what's going on? We sit there and have a conversation. Right. And he's like, hey, what's up, man? We start talking. We start talking about podcasts and stuff because I was like telling him, yeah, I got a show. I got a channel. And he's like, hey, have you heard of Mr. Boomstick?
That's
And I was like-
hilarious.
And I
Wow.
was like, oh yeah, man. I really like his show and stuff. He's like, yeah, you should try and get on his show sometime. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna ask or whatever that. And anyway, so like I was like, hey,
Wow.
you're just one guy. I'm not gonna go buy you food or whatever. But then we just had a cool conversation, and ends up like now, like look at it almost a year later, right? We're here together on a panel on the show, and he's
That's
sitting there
awesome.
in the chat still. So, and that was Army Veteran there at GameStop. So shout out to you, Army Veteran. Met you in person, good dude.
Yeah, dude, that's a fantastic story. It kind of reminds me of when I went to E3. Someone heard me talking, and they again, to me, I get embarrassed easy. He's like, "Are you that voice? You Mr. BoomStick XL?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I am. Can I take a picture?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, dude, but I don't know why you want to take a picture. Trust me when I tell you, folks, I am humbled beyond words that I have a following. You do this, you come out here, You put yourself out there. You're talking about games because you love games, and you just never know where it's going to go, right? And here we are. We had almost 350 people here today, and it's extremely humbling for sure. And that's a pretty dope story. Thank you for sharing. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I hope it's true that Killer Instinct 2 is in production. And yes, we're going to be getting to that. Good friend of the program, good friend of the community, Special Nick of the Xbox Era podcast had some things to say regarding Killer Instinct 2 and that it already might be in some sort of a pre or production level of development, and that gets me excited. We're going to get to that in a second. Iron Mike drops a very generous $5 super chat and says MS needs to do invitation only releases with some of these limited edition items, one per gamer tag. I think Boxenberger talked about that. That's a super relevant idea. I love it. Kay Asante, good friend of the program, good friend of this community, and panel member at Primetime Gaming, drops a $5 super chat and says, "Greeting, friends. We have the right to spit some righteous smoke right now. Bots are becoming a problem, but we'll be all right. Have a great show. Yeah, we'll absolutely." For sure. Danny Passion drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, let's not forget that the main reason for this fridge is marketing for the consoles, and marketing is focused on those who don't have or know your product. I mean, that's absolutely correct. So it behooves Microsoft to do something about the bot situation for sure. He drops an additional $2 super chat and says, I wouldn't blame Microsoft. The scalpers are the ones to blame. Indeed, they are. Jordy from Xbox Era. We've been talking behind the scenes. I'm trying to get him on the show. He is going to be a guest. He's trying to get his equipment. As soon as he gets his equipment, he'll be joining us. He becomes a channel member. Jordy, thank you so much for that. And of course, thank you for the info, which I cannot talk about just yet. You dropped into the DM the other day. That was pretty dope. You would definitely appreciate that. Outbreak Podcast drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Boom, your panel is the best." Thank you very much, dude. And he enjoys our opinions. Well, thank you for that. And Black Ronin drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I think Phil and Double A have a commercial or something cooking." That they want to use also 100 million Xbox subs in WSJ. That about the section for Phil. I mean, I don't know if they have that many. The 100 million subs maybe across lifetime, but it's going to be a very interesting anniversary, which is going to be doing on the 15th, and of course we will be covering that live post and pre-show as well. A Bay Area drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "What's up, Boom and panel? Good show as usual. Hit the like button, people. Yes, please. We have over nearly 350 people here. Please, for the love of Joe, hit that like button." But let's get into there are two topics for me as an OG, right? As someone that grew up spending $90 on cartridges back in the days. And I mean, I don't know who remembers Funkoland. I used to actually be, before I was a manager of one of those stores. I actually shopped there like everybody else, and I remember games, N64 games, costing $115 because they're the only ones that had them. Like they the way that Funkoland did their business was supply and demand. If something was high supply, they charged more, and it was a nightmare. But there are two franchises that Microsoft has not addressed. I have a feeling that they are addressing them. One of which is Killer Instinct, proper Killer Instinct 2, and Banjo-Kazooie. I'm not getting off. I'll put it to this way. Boom complains about two things. Those are them. Once those are addressed, once we get a confirmation that, let's say, Playtonics is making the next Banjo and Studio ABC is making Killer Instinct, I zip the lip, I take the key, and I throw it away. You never hear anything from Boom again, because then I've made it to my Zen place, right? Well, this past Sunday's Xbox Era, Special Nick, who happened to him and John mentioned me, which is, again, it's extremely humbling when you hear your name being called on a podcast. You're like, oh, they're talking about me, really? Right? Well, Special Nick had dropped a hint of this in one of the podcasts, and I totally missed it. I'm like, I don't even remember the podcast that he was in that he talked about this, because I would have immediately, went to it. But he talked about the fact that Killer Instinct could absolutely be in fact in some sort of pre-production, and that they might have gotten a studio to make the game. That is what he is hearing, and that is music to my ears. Look, I've said this before, and I will say it again. Right now, when you look at the fighting genre, PlayStation has it on lock. They have a lot of exclusive content that goes to PlayStation 4, now PlayStation 5. Surprisingly enough, next year, King of Fighters 15 is actually coming at the same time to the Xbox and the PlayStation, which I thought was great, because I love SNK. I'm a huge SNK fan. And so we're trying to start to see maybe a change. Maybe they understand that they're Xbox gamers who like the fighting genre. But my biggest complaint with Xbox is when you have a storied franchise like Killer Instinct sitting in a vault. You have the first one that launched in 2013, and listen, it's a franchise that has a history with Nintendo, with Xbox. They own the IP, the character roster, even just the regular character roster with Jago and the rest of them, Saber Wolf, T-Hawk. There's room for this franchise to exist, and to know that it potentially could in fact be my prayers be answered. It's very exciting, but I'm interested to get what the chat has to say, and get, of course, what the panel has to say. And I'm kind of going to roll it in reverse. And I'm going to start first with 3-Bit. 3-Bit, as an artist, when you look at a game like Killer Instinct, every fighter on that roster is unique in its own way. You know what I'm saying? And some of their stories maybe not have come to fruition the way that we would love to see their stories be told. What are your thoughts on the fact that Microsoft might actually have a studio making the next Killer Instinct?
Great. I think Microsoft has so many IPs that they need to start utilizing. I think Nintendo is pretty good at utilizing some of their popular characters in different ways, whether that's Link, like in Dynasty Warrior games, or Mario and golf, kart racing, board games. Microsoft really does need to sit down and look at some of their IP and celebrate it. I've said this on a couple of shows.
Yes.
They have Rare as a studio with so much history, and they're not really willing to develop their old IP. They want to sort of focus on the new Rare, right? So what did they do to make sure it was just happening just underneath like a different studio? Like Rare is a different studio now, but they have so much IP. And then what they gave Perfect Dark to another studio. So I think Killer Instinct is just a title that just further diversifies their portfolio.
Yes.
Sony kind of swept Capcom a bit with Street Fighter in the past, and Killer Instinct is just a pretty good game to relook at, to have like a fighter underneath Xbox's belt. And a lot of different fans have been clamoring for Killer Instinct over the years. I've just been hearing, where is Killer Instinct? I really like the first one, and it's kind of a different fighter. If you guys have played it, like it plays very differently to me than a Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter.
Well, its combo system is so unique on how you chain everything together, where it gets almost into it's so fast that it gets into a blur. That's how fast. Again, a great point that it's so unique in its presentation that it almost deserves a sequel, just because it's a legendary title, but unique and adds depth to their portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. I think with Killer Instinct, it standing it alone against all these other fighting games, like you were saying, Boom. A lot of Sony games are getting the fighting genre for sure. It's getting a little bit unlocked, but it is nice to see that they are considering bringing back Killer Instinct if this rumors are true. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. If they are going to make another one, I am wondering what studio they are going to bring into the fold to make this happen, because we know that the studio that originally made Killer Instinct is not at Xbox anymore. I don't think. I think they are gone now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the original team that made Killer Instinct before the second team took over was purchased by Amazon, and Amazon basically killed that studio, which is very disappointing.
Yeah, so I am wondering what studio is going to be behind this, or is this an Xbox publishing situation where they hire a third party developer to make this happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Real quick, this goes to show you what kind of a small world this is, folks. Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a $5 super chat, and I'm going to get to the two one before it. He says, "You took me back, Funkoland, Yonkers, Central Avenue. I bought my Dreamcast, $99.99. It's." He says he's still thinking about it. Check this out, Games Play. Not only was that the store that I started in, which that Yonkers store, before they gave me my own store up in Nanuet. That $99.99, my brother Neo Mental was running he was the manager of that location. I had already been on the NYPD for 5 years already. I drove through New York, and if you remember this, it was a monsoon that day, and the Hudson River Parkway, if you're familiar with New York, gets flooded. I don't know how I got up to Yonkers, but I bought the entire launch list after having already the Japanese Dreamcast. Dreamcast is my favorite system. I took the streets. I took local. It took me about 3 hours to get there in a monsoon. Great super chat, and also bringing me back. Black Ronin drops a very generous $5 super chat and says it's pronounced Aaron Key and Peel skit. Well, thank you for the clarifications, brother. And of course, Brian Hopkins, new channel member. Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. That is very kind of you. Boxenberger, let's get your opinion. Now, you and I have had conversations, both privately in the DM and on podcasts, that a diversified portfolio is something that, not saying that Xbox doesn't have it now, right? They have a very a wide palette of games available in Xbox Game Pass. Though the two that they're missing, and of course, we're not going to get into the Banjo-Kazooie, the family-friendly thing, because we've done that to death. But honestly, the fighting game genre, it's not represented at all, right? There are no, I mean, we've had Soul Calibur jump in there, we've had a Tekken jump in there, but past that, what are your thoughts? When you hear that Microsoft, and this is a good source, like I said, say what you want about Nick potentially getting some things wrong. You know what? We all get things wrong, but I put it to this way: if Special Nick tells me, "Hey, boom, I got this from a source that I trust," I'm going with that. So obviously, what are your thoughts on the potential of KI coming back and maybe, just maybe, being one of those? Well, they're not going to announce it at the special event. They said no new games, but you know, the fact that we have potentially some evidence that they're working on it, does that get you excited as a fan?
So let me start with one thing you said about that rumor being put out there. See, that is an actual rumor for me, and an actual leak or an information you can only get from a source, because we have sometimes these discussions on social media or in podcasts or wherever, that are really not that much insider knowledge, that are just educated guesses. And that's, that this is always my problem. This is something different. Like you said, this is something you cannot know unless you have an actual source. We know that Nick has their sources, and sometimes stuff happens. Maybe that was in discussion. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it is they only greenlight a pre-production to see where this goes. Who knows? Yeah, but the thing is that that's an actual thing you can only know with a source, and that's what I consider a rumor. But that being said, let me tell you about Killer Instinct. You phrased it perfectly. The diversity is key. Diversity is key. I'm not the biggest fighter fan. This is really not my type of genre. So Killer Instinct 2 is not a game that is made for me as a gamer. I'm still excited because I love the diversity in the Xbox ecosystem. I think it makes it so unique that Xbox is looking out to have all kinds of genre in Game Pass in their first-party portfolio. Yeah, we have today already strategy games, shooters, racers, jump and runs, Metroidvanias, adventure games, RPGs, all kinds of games. And like you said, there are a couple of spots missing right now. Kid-friendly thing is one thing. The other thing is definitely a good fighter brawler. That kind of game is missing. And I know that many love the Killer Instinct franchise. And let's hope that they actually do it, because it can really bring that gap, or close that gap that is currently missing in the Game Pass or the Xbox portfolio. So yeah, am I personally excited? Not really, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a good thing that they are doing it. And I think yeah, like you said, Boom, the thing about the Xbox ecosystem is really that there is something for everyone to play, and that's how they actually approach their ecosystem, and in giving gamers choices, options. And if an option or a game isn't for you personally, that doesn't mean that it isn't a good thing that it is in there. And so yeah, let's hope Killer Instinct 2 is coming a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what? Real quick, let me go right to Mav on this. Mav, I pulled up an article that was from GeekWire.com, and in December of 2020, it was confirmed that Microsoft has acquired the video game tournament tool Smash GG. Right now, that obviously is something that is used for fighters, and they don't have any current fighters that are first party. But now we think, thanks to Nick's connection and him dropping this on last Sunday's Xbox era, that this could be actually coming to fruition. For you personally, where do you sit on seeing Killer Instinct 2 or Killer Instinct as a franchise come back in a big way?
It's about time.
There you
This
go.
was an Xbox One launch game, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir. 2013.
And they had that really weird kind of release plan with the content in it and a weird menu system and stuff. But the game itself played amazing, right? But it did kind of suffer in a way with all the Xbox One games back then, because everybody, as far as market share, mind and stuff, was kind of down on Xbox at the time. I mean, you had those diehard Xbox guys standing behind the Xbox and loving every minute of it still, but the games didn't do as well as they could have, right? Because of this. And Killer Instinct was one of those games that stood above the rest at the time, where it was getting that positive praise. I remember when it was announced, actually, at what's the big fighting game event thing they have, the crowd just erupted when the Killer Instinct was announced at the event. And there's a definite audience ready and waiting for this game. It's just been so long, with how things have come along, with games over the last 8 years now, I guess, since the last one. I cannot imagine how good this next one will be, and I do think it's happening. Right, I think it's happening because Nick seems to be sure about this.
He seemed very confident on the source that the unnamed source that he mentioned. Correct.
Right. His quotes were more of the lines like, "It is happening," right?
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to like before, where they're kind of, a lot of times the insiders would be like, "Hey, this is a possibility. This is blah blah blah." But I think he was pretty insistent that it is in active development, if I was reading his quotations correctly from from his podcast. So now you start to just wonder, who is it? That's the big question. Who is developing this game, and will it live up to the Killer Instinct name? Where are they going to take it? Because the last one, they added like Battletoads characters and stuff in there. They added the Arbiter in there.
General Ram.
You look at this whole portfolio of characters that Xbox has now, right, at their disposal, and you could potentially see something unlike anything we've seen before with a fighter like this, using the stable of characters that Xbox has at their disposal, plus all of the classic Killer Instinct characters as well. So
Doom Guy has to be the first one.
Oh man,
it's just ridiculous.
I can just imagine, like, there's so much you can do with the new Killer Instinct game, right? I think the name like Dimps was thrown around about a possible studio. They have made some of the. They've worked on Street Fighter. They've worked on other fighting games, and it could be a good fit. Another name that was thrown around was Inway. They made that Power Rangers game that's in the arcade.
Yes,
right. It's actually really good.
It actually is
really
quite good.
So there's different studios out there that they could have potentially made a partnership with, or maybe somebody that they're trying to acquire in the future. The other name I would like to throw out there, because we do not know anything about this studio, but we know they are working on an unannounced project, and that's Roundhouse Studios, that came over with the ZeniMax Bethesda deal. Roundhouse sounds like the name of a fighting game studio to me. So I don't know what to think about that, but there's so much potential with this, and it is that need. It fills that gap, right? That they've been missing with the first party fighting game. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, well, let's go to Pong Soul. The question of the day, you've heard what everyone says. So does Microsoft need Killer Instinct?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Boom, shout out to the people working in your neighborhood. I love how they always pick our podcast.
Every time. It's unbelievable.
Look, Killer Instinct, yes. Again, people have already talked about it. Diversity of games is a must, right? We see this across the industry when it comes to, or across industries, I should say, when it comes to offering a service like Game Pass. You've got to have all content for everybody, even if it's niche, right? Even if it's something that not everybody's going to pick up on, you want that content in there. So when people look at the catalog and are deciding whether or not to jump into a service like Game Pass or Netflix or whatever the case may be, you've got to have something for everybody, or at least try to. And the fighting genre, even though it's not as big as it once was, it is a passionate part of gaming. And it is something that people look forward to. We definitely have seen PlayStation making investments with companies. There's still the rumor out there that Arc System Works, which makes great fighters, is on the block for Sony to purchase for PlayStation. And if there are a couple genres that Xbox is currently missing, and fighters is one of them. You alluded to it, Boom. King of the Fighters is coming out for Xbox along with PlayStation at the same time, which is a huge get for Microsoft. It does fill a need. So having a Killer Instinct come back would be fantastic. It would be something that the fans have been calling for. And again, it's one of those games that just adds to the variety that you have currently in Game Pass. It's going to be available day and date. It will be one of those games that people look at when they start looking at all the games and what they're going to play, or what they might play if they're going to get into Game Pass as a service. So I think it is important. I was going to throw this out there again. We Co-Mayor Speculation Town, Speculation Universe right here. So I'm going to throw this out there. This was also posted on Twitter. I don't know how many people picked up on it, but there was actually and again, grain of salt, everybody. This is grain of salt, but we are in Speculation Town. There's unicorns, rainbows, and sunshine at 75. So, yes. But grain of salt. There was an actual 4chan thread prior to Special Nick's podcast. So prior to him saying it, there was a 4chan thread going around a few days prior about Killer Instinct coming back. And there was a few details in there. Again, 4chan especially, grain of salt. However, Timing wise, interesting that it popped up on 4chan just prior to Special Nick talking about it. So here we go. A few extra details that this thread contained. It is on Unreal Engine 5. There is going to be more focus on Xbox with a bigger emphasis on Xbox characters being in Killer Instinct. For example, Master Chief, Dovahkiin, Doomslayer as playable characters. The developer is apparently obvious if you followed Killer Instinct 2013, which that part doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because we know Double Helix, joined Amazon.
They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I don't know where that's going, with that, but maybe there's something in there that we're missing. And the
Maybe
character
they're mistaken and talk about Iron Galaxy.
A possible Iron Galaxy, right?
Or wait, let me just jump in for a second there, Pong.
Yeah.
What if the studio head or studio members of Double Helix, who is now dissolved by Amazon, created a new studio, went to Microsoft and said, hey, listen, we did the first one. We'd love to get a chance to do this. And maybe they're working with them. That's another possibility.
Yeah, it could be a possibility there as well. Like I said, so interesting. And then the final one was the character designs are inspired by the arcade, not the 2013 version, and some of them have new original designs. So just throwing that out there. Saw it, didn't see a whole lot of people picking up on it. Again, grain of salt.
I missed that. I didn't even know where you saw it. Dude, thank you for bringing that to the conversation, because I totally missed that, and I'm a diehard KI fan.
No problem. I just found it underneath one of the posts, and I thought it was cool. So, look, Killer Instinct is a big franchise as far as just the name goes. It's well known. It's been around for a very long time. Like Mav said, it's been 8 years. Fans within Xbox have been clamoring for this. Phil has heard it nonstop. You even had Ed Boon out here talking about it at points during these past 8 years that he dropped Mortal Kombat in a heartbeat to work on Killer Instinct. So again, even though fighter games are not necessarily the biggest thing going, they still have an important place within the ecosystem and within franchises. So therefore, I think it is great that it's coming back. I love fighters, but I'm not the fighter guy because I'm not going to learn all the strategy. I'm not going to learn all the moves. I'm a button masher, pure and simple. But I don't care. But you know what? I love the animation and I love the different styles that fighters bring. And so I just love experiencing them, whether it's Soul Calibur, or it's an Arc System Works game, which has a very specific anime style. I just love how they all bring it. Or Killer Instinct that introduced a ton of cool characters that you could fight with, right? I just love going in and button mashing and just watching the action on the screen. So therefore, it's definitely big on my list. I can't wait to see it come back. And like everybody's kind of touched on here, but you specifically, Boom, with Special Nick, look, he does throw a lot of stuff out there. His stuff is not made up. He does have a lot of people who throw things at him.
Yes.
And so when you do have that kind of information, and he's not one that holds it, whereas like Jez, shout out to Jez from Windows Central, where he holds it until he has like documentation, until he knows for a fact. He holds his Special Nick is more on that line where he's going to throw out rumors that he's hearing, especially if they are from some of his trusted sources that have a good track record. Not every track record's going to be 100%. So if Special Nick comes out though and says, look, it's no longer, and he's heard this rumor. He's been holding this one back for a very long time. His source told him he could not talk about it yet. And so when his source finally gave him the go ahead, look, he said during that podcast that this is something, it's not just being talked about or banned. It's an active development, and he's currently trying to find out what developer is working on it. But when he comes out and says it's active development, that means that it has moved forward to the point where he is going to come out and say, look, this is actually happening now. It's one of his favorite franchises too. So this is something special for him to come out and say it. So I thought it was pretty cool that he did that. And obviously the shout out to you, Boom, was fantastic that he listens to the show. I think I was in that chat that night, and I think I do remember him saying that. I have to go back and see if I was one of the guys that gave him the eyes, because I know I've seen him in your prime time gaming a couple of times before. And I think I do actually remember that night, but I thought that was pretty cool that he threw that in there. But can't wait for Killer Instinct. let's go. More games, more fun. That's all.
Yeah,
there is.
absolutely. Zemi Games, let's get your opinion on it. Now, again, everyone had a lot of things to say. I don't know where you personally sit with fighters. For me, like I said, as a fan from the arcade days, like when Nathan's used to be a thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, on Central Avenue, where it used to be right across the street from Funkoland, there was a big Nathan's, and it had its restaurant section, but it was only a small portion of it. The back end of Nathan's had about 200 arcade machines. It was when the arcade scene was huge, and I remember playing Killer Instinct. And that's where all my money went. My allowance went there, and man, I'll never forget when we got the. I still don't even know how they did it on the SNES. How the hell did they get Killer Instinct onto that? I mean, okay, it wasn't the the arcade, but it played as good. And man, I've been a fan of that franchise for years, and also a fan of the IP. Where do you fall in Microsoft potentially bringing it back? Because, I mean, the calls for it are out there. We're not the only panel to talk about it. I mean, I think that this is the only show that has talked about it as multiple times as I have. Where do you fall on it, Zemi?
You have talked about it a tremendous amount, Boom, and I hope that it happens so we can stop talking about it. No, I'm not the biggest fighter fan. I've played quite a few of them. I'm not new to the genre, in any way of saying that. But I'm very selective on the fighters that I play. Everyone said it. I'm going to go ahead and say it too. Diversity in a first party, portfolio and Game Pass and most services is very, very, very important. Xbox Game Pass isn't a niche subscription to, for people that just want to play RPGs, right? Imagine if Netflix only had scary movies, for instance, right? I'm a coward. I would never subscribe. They wouldn't have nearly the amount of subscribers that they do. Because not everyone wants to just watch scary movies. With that being said, they of course would still have some people, right? But diversity is important. And, even if, I might not particularly like the game or play the game or anything, to that nature, does not matter on the scale of whether or not Xbox should get a Killer Instinct, right? Because not every game that comes into Game Pass is meant for me, right? It's a service that wants to get all of gamers, not just certain niches, right? So diversity is extremely important, and they're currently lacking for a fighter. They are, especially a really nice AAA first party fighter, and I think Killer Instinct very much would fill that gap. So for sure, I think it should happen. If it doesn't happen, they need to get some form of a fighter, I believe. But they already have the IP. Why not just use what they got? And like what was previously said, Killer Instinct also offers the ability to celebrate your history as a company and your other IP by having the Dova King from Skyrim in the game, having Master Chief, having the Doom guy, having Marcus Phoenix, all the other amazing Xbox characters in a fighter, to help introduce maybe people that are only interested in fighters into other characters and other storylines and other franchises as well that they can easily play on Xbox Game Pass. I think one of the biggest problems that Xbox has right now is that they have way too much IP and not enough studios to make them, right? Make the games that people want. And, so the last time that we talked about Killer Instinct, my statement was, hey, it could be happening, right now in the background for all that we know. But I truly believe that it was something that was eventually going to happen, right? A lot of these IPs that we hear people, clamoring about, that have a lot of nostalgia. I truly feel, at least the really popular ones that we haven't heard anything about will eventually happen, right? It's just a matter of Xbox finding the right studio to actually work on it. And, if this rumor is to be believed, then, it sounds like they found the right studio to make Killer Instinct, or at least the Killer Instinct that they want to have being made. The IP is still really, really popular. There's still a community of gamers that still avidly love the game and play the game to this day. I think it makes a lot of sense for Xbox to want to come out with a sequel or recreate this or whatever the ultimate plan is. I think it makes a lot of sense on a lot of different levels. So yeah, I mean, I think it very much could be happening for sure.
Yeah, and listen, folks, we're at the 2-hour mark. I did have another topic. The topic, I'm going to move it forward to Friday's show. I'm going to give you a preview of what we're doing on Friday. I actually just got a DM, literally, that I was reading from a good friend that just dropped some more information regarding Splinter Cell. We have it from is it Nibble? Is it Nibble? I don't know how I always pronounce his name wrong. According to VGC, which Video Games Chronicle, they literally just dropped an article that says a new Splinter Cell game is in development, early in production, with an announcement potentially coming next year. That's that. We also have some new information that for anyone that is an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, Ultimate Game Pass subscriber, Microsoft is going to be dropping monthly content for Halo that is going to be available for only people that are Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. We were talking about that last night we weren't sure how that was going to work, and now we have information. So if you want to continue the Xbox talk, tune in, because there's no show on Thursdays, right? I got rid of the Thursday show. That could be coming back in a different iteration, potentially next year. I'm messing with some names, some different titles. I don't know if it's going to be a panel. I don't know if it's going to be a solo or even a one-on-one kind of a situation. But a show is coming back. I have nothing to announce now because I'm working behind the scenes on trying to bring something different to the channel, something new that's going to replace the second Xbox Factor podcast. And like I said, I don't know the direction I'm going to go, but Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom, we're going to be covering Splinter Cell. We're going to be covering the new Halo Infinite information that was just literally dropped. And more so, one of the big topics is we have a ton of new information on Compulsion Games, third-person, over-the-shoulder, story-driven title that this is for you. #just1. And I think you guys and gals are going to enjoy it. That show goes live 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am still looking for guests, and I will make the announcement on who will be joining the band of brothers that we have there. But let's get to the outros, and we're going to start first with Zemi Games. Zemi, thank you so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate you being here, being the cog that keeps this show running each and every week. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, potentially subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, #not-just-1. I want a quantum break. So we need to get more than just one, please.
Yes, 100%.
No, absolutely though. Yeah, so my YouTube channel is called Constant Gamer. I cover a bunch of gaming content on there, gaming news, reviews, a few theory videos, so on and so forth. So definitely if you like that type of content, check it out. Once again, it's called Constant Gamer on YouTube. And then if you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter @Zemi Games. I post food pics every now and then. If I find an interesting gaming article, I usually always tweet about it, and just talk about gaming on Twitter for the most part. So you can follow me on Twitter @Zemi Games. Boom, as always, fantastic show, man, and I can't wait for next Tuesday.
Well, thank you so much. And Pong Soul, why don't you tell everyone about what you got going on Saturday? I think you're on a show on Sunday. I think you're on a show 7 days a week. You're the hardest working dude in podcasting. Talk about what you got going on, and where could people reach out to you on social media to strike up hopefully a positive conversation?
Absolutely, Boom. Not 7 days yet. We're getting there. No. Let's see here. First of all, great show, brothers. Knocked it out of the park. Obviously we had more topics pop up than we could handle, but that's because we all have great points and great discussion on this stuff. So appreciate you all. Love being here on Tuesday, as always, with the Xbox Factor podcast. Find me Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. you know the drill there. Keep your eyes open for all the information on my Twitter account. Anything coming up, I always try to post. And yes, I will have positive conversations with you. So come follow me and I'll follow you back. But yeah, this week, I'll let Mav handle a lot of it. But man, brand new show, PM in the PM. We talked about it early in the beginning. Boom mentioned it with Mav, but PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM starts Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. That's over on Fun Speculations channel. So come check him and I out there. We're going to have a good time. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but this week now I don't know,
dude.
what we're not going to talk about.
This could be a 5-hour podcast. I mean, I might
It
be
certainly
going to
could
bed
be.
at midnight because
Mav and I can talk just like Steele and I do on Saturdays. So who knows how long this is going to go for. But anyways, Thursday, check us out there. Fridays, Xbox Ultimate, also over on Fun Speculations channel. So come check us out there with the Magnificent Seven, of course, on 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, Xbox Ultimate, Friday nights. Saturday mornings is the Living Split Screen. Absolutely come check me and my brother from another Steel Rain out, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. We're waking you up, so set those alarms and be there. We will get you going. Boom listens to us while he's doing chores around the house. Hey, that's all. We don't care how you get there. Just be there. All right. So we have a great time. 3-hour plus show every Saturday. I'm no longer even going to try to say we do 2-hour shows because we don't. 3 hours plus every Saturday morning, 3 p.m. UK time. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Saturday nights, the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Centurion, Fuzzy Belvedere. Look, we always have great guests there. PTK knocks it out of the park each and every week. He deserves a bigger audience. He's been doing it for 5 years. Great show. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Come check us out. It is a great time, a great way to end your Saturday night. Shop Podcast over on PTK Blam's channel. Otherwise, be back here next Tuesday for the Xbox Factor podcast. Love you all. It's the golden age of gaming. Play what you love what you play, and I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, next up, Boxenberger, you've been dropping some videos, man. Good stuff as always. Tell everyone where they can check out your Cult Eastwood level video skills, as well as potentially strike up a conversation on social media.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me again. You know, it's always a highlight here to be on Boom's show, especially with this amazing panel. It's always a blast. So thank you guys. And yeah, you said I'm dropping videos after video. I just finished the script for the next one, so that's going up probably tomorrow or the day after. Depends on how much time I find to edit it. Yeah, people can find the channel under Boxenberger. You can also find me on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, everywhere under Boxenberger. And yeah, I just realized during the show that I uploaded 111 videos to my channel.
Wow, dude, that's awesome.
Crazy numbers.
Good number.
Already. Yeah. So that's pretty cool to see. And yeah, thanks again for having me. I talk to you guys next week.
Thank you so much for that. And Mav, let's get you. And you got a lot to push because you're doing a lot on your channel. And obviously, I'm happy to say that seeing you grow brings a smile to my face. I really am excited the way you have handled the growth of your channel, bringing your wife in on the conversation, bringing the Magnificent Seven together, bringing another new show to the conversation in the PM. Tell everyone where they can check those shows out and where could people strike up a conversation with you on social media.
Awesome show, Boom. Great conversations on Twitter. You can find me Fun Speculation. It's where you'll find all the channel updates and just random thoughts, even if you don't want to hear what I got to say because it's a bad opinion. It'll be there on Twitter. Also, YouTube Fun Speculation as well, where we have the full slate of shows. Wednesday, we got Fun Pop, where we're going to have a lot of fun because we got a lot to cover because we had DC fandom, right? There's a lot of stuff. So we're going to have a blast Wednesday. We got Thursday, new show with Pong, PM in the PM, as he said. And you guys aren't ready for this. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be, if you think speculation has been happening around here, just wait till me and Pong get let loose together. It's gonna be a blast. And then you got, as always, Xbox Ultimate Podcast, and then our other newest show, FSP, which is on Saturdays. I'm super happy with how that started out with an awesome panel. So, um, just thank you everybody for tuning into this and tuning into our channel over there. Check it out, and if you like what you see, stick around.
Absolutely, brother. And last and no way least, the best looking dude on this panel, hands down. And of course, he has more talent in the thumbnail than I have in my body. Please, 3-Bit, talk about your channel, brother. Talk about what you got going on. And where could people strike up a conversation with you on social media?
Splinter Cell.
They can
Everyone.
reach out to Splinter Cell? Is his name Sam
They can
Fisher?
reach out to
This is
Splinter Cell.
outrageous.
No, everyone can find me on Twitter at i3bit. I'm on this show, and I'm also on Xbox Ultimate every Friday with the Magnificent Seven. I'm just working on a lot behind the scenes. Everyone here knows I'm working with Ubisoft, and I'm doing a lot of different animation stuff and projects that are under a lot of different NDAs.
There's NDAs on top of NDAs on top of NDAs.
But yeah, there are some stuff I can talk about that you guys will be seeing on my Twitter. That I'm working on this music video with this really talented artist you guys should check out. Her name is Ani Kaizen, a good friend of mine's, and I'm doing the music video for that, so look out for some of my work. But besides that, thank you guys. Always love being on the panel with Mr. Pong, Mav, Boxenberger, Zemi, and Uboom, and everyone in the chat. You are awesome. So it's always good to be on the Xbox Factor. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being here, brother. And of course, I want to thank the chat. We had over almost 350 people here. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself enough to hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We hit 9K finally, and now we're on the march to the glorified 10K, to be in that conversation with several. Obviously the Iron Lords hit it, and I couldn't be more proud of those guys. Those are my brothers, and to see them hit that is amazing. Xbox era is close there, folks. If you trust Boom's opinion, go check out Special Nick, John, and of course Jordy and the rest of. They have an entire team that works over at Xbox era. They are so close to 10K. Get over there, subscribe, tell them Boom sent you. You will not be disappointed. Their shows are fantastic, and they do a lot of reviews. They have a big team working on there, and they're relatively new on the scene. And to see them hit the 10K as quick as they did goes to show you the talent that they have over there. So definitely go check out those guys. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me personally. I'm hoping one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he used to say all the time, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.